Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars films 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I'm Josh Flanagan, currently of Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Welcome back, Josh.
Thank you. I could say you could go to goodfellasminute.com. That would be an appropriate time to plug that
You
sort of thing.
were one of the original people to jump on the movies by minutes bandwagon.
I believe we were the second. I believe that, if we're not counting the people who were your precursors that didn't really count. Wasn't there one, like it was a Star Wars show? Somebody said they did it first. I forget. But
Yes. Gutterballs, the Big
Right.
Lebowski.
Right.
They unbeknownst to us, they said they were doing that for years
Right.
before we started. And,
Right,
But-
with yours, you like we asked permission. We came, we kissed the ring, and said we want to do a Goodfellas Minute with my partners from myfanboy.com.
We're
I
like,
think we were the
why are they kissing that ring? It's weird.
Yeah.
They're creeping us out. Let's just let them do it.
My ring's all drooly. Please stop. But you know what's funny is and I don't want to harp on it, but like I went back and listened to a little bit. I'm very proud of that work though, and I listened to the stuff that you guys came on early and did the show, and it was really fun. And I don't ever want to do it again, but I'm really glad I did it the once.
That was going to be my next question. Would you ever return to it?
I think we would, but it really was. I mean, to your credit, it was such a big thing to put out a show every single day and sort of like have to block record them and set everything up and get guests and all that stuff.
Block, record. I don't understand.
Sorry, I mean it's a thing that we had to do,
Right.
in order to make it work with our lives. And now, now more of us have children than before, so it would be a little extra challenge.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you could make it, and glad you came out of your podcast retirement, your movie by minutes podcast retirement.
I was gonna say, like, no, I do. I do several a week.
No one's heard from you in years. It's glad this is like JD Salinger showing up. Let's talk about minute 9 of The Last Jedi. Minute 9 starts off with the bomber pilots talking about how they're going to take on the Fulminatrix dreadnought. And it ends a minute later with the bombers preparing to drop bombs on the Fulminatrix dreadnought.
So we mentioned that the tally is blue leader. And this is not the bombers are not part of Blue Squadron. They're part of Cobalt Squadron.
Okay, that's too close. That's bad call signage. Now, presumably all these squadrons then operate under wherever Poe Dameron is in the org chart.
This movie, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, is he Black Leader at this point? He was.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what he wouldn't be? He wouldn't be flying in that position. Like that's bad, like to have the guy at the front of the boat.
Right. To be the
Yeah.
the leader's the one who's just going to fly by himself and take on a bunch of people. Then we're going to show up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The so unimaginative
Cobalt Squadron.
The unimaginative name for this ship. It's confusing. I think editing has moved some of these people and some of these ships around. So I think there's the pilot. He's the pilot. There's a pilot, a bombardier, and a gunner.
I think there's 5 people
There's a
altogether
belly
on the
gunner,
ship.
just like a B-17.
Right. Yeah.
Great.
And I think the ones that we see, so this first guy that we see responding on the bomber, I believe this is Finch Dallow. That's his name.
Finch Dallow.
That's the pilot. Finch Dallow. He's the pilot. Finch Dallow.
They're really committed to that sort of sound rhythm in these names. Like I feel like maybe they should get out of their comfort zone a little bit more.
Right. We'll just have one guy just be like, "Oh, that's Ugalbashash Makanolo."
Yeah.
And then that's
really, I mean, make you guys have to do your job.
and then there's Poe Dameron and Finch Dallow and
exactly.
But there's the Finch Dallow is flying the Cobalt Hammer of Cobalt Squadron.
Is that the name of the ship or the brand of the?
The ship is the Cobalt Hammer.
Okay.
Which I like to think of it as the more of a very think of it as the element and not the color. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, that's the. I'm trying to think of other like.
Do they have to identify each other's squadron by visuals? Like, because does that have anything to do with it? Like, oh wait, are you in Cobalt Squadron? No, that's Azure Squadron. They're over there. It's
all very, very fine differences once they get down, because each one, it's like a pyramid scheme.
What if Leia, and stick with me here, what if we move to different parts of the color wheel? we can't do that because orange.
I got some guy on some other job who's in Pink Squadron.
Talk about Finch. I apologize.
No, it's okay. Finch Dallow.
Gallo.
Cobalt Squadron.
Named after Vincent Gallo, that guy who had a weird sex scene in his movie.
Oh, yeah.
The Wine King.
Finch Dallow is played by Kevin Lane. Layne, who's an actor who's been in some stuff. But
that's how it works.
Here's an interesting wrinkle. Might as well bring it up here. Early drafts of the script. It was actually Finn in this position. Finn, FN 2187 himself, was the gunner, I think, I don't think he was piloting. I think he was the gunner, but he was on the bomber for this whole sequence. And he would have interacted with somebody who we haven't met yet. It would have been a whole different scene, but I guess we'll come up to that again.
Instead, they had to save him for a really pointless sequence that comes later in the movie. Let's move on.
Well, double later on. But yeah, instead we have.
I'm not going to be here for that. I got to get my jabs in.
Finch Dallow.
Finch Dallow.
And they couldn't even. They were like, it was supposed to be Finn. What about Finch? And that's the same guy who they were like, well, what do we call this other squadron? He was like, Cobalt.
Yeah.
He can only think in very short degrees.
He's not very imaginative.
C4PO. It's really difficult not to say C and 3 together.
Well, who's in there with him? And he's like, Finn. And they're like, he sees the look on their faces. He's like, Finn. Finch Dallow.
Fred Menfringens.
Yeah. We get our first member here. Then we get another stuff starts to happen with the TIE fighters coming in. We get the bombers are starting their attack run. The one who lets us know that there are fighters incoming. That's Ben Teen. Ben Teen. T-E-E.
Like the gum?
N-E. Yeah. Brush your breath with Ben Teen.
Is he related to Ainley Team?
Is it B? Very fast, very dangerous. Is it Denteen or Ben Teen?
Ben like Kenobi, Teen like Spirit, except with an extra E at the end.
Okay.
In a long time.
Bentini.
Bentini. Ben Teen is played by Ben Morris,
who is a teen.
Who is opposite. He is the ILM creative director and the visual effects supervisor for this film.
And he was allowed to appear in exchange for a lower salary.
Ben Teen is the I'm not sure, is he the pilot or is he the bombardier? But he's on another bomber called the Crimson Bolide.
Wow.
Bolide.
Bolide.
Any idea what bolide is?
A
Sounds
bolide
like
is an object
Toothpaste?
flying through space. If you were in if you're in the ISS, right, and like some space debris and rocks came by, things that connected with you would be bolides.
Huh.
You should read Seven Eves by Neil Stephenson. There's a lot of bolide talk in that movie, or in that book, not a movie.
Well,
Bolide.
So this is the guy who's like the haggard-looking old man?
yes, he looks
Because
he's-
that guy looks like he just woke up and they would like just shoved him in the plane or whatever.
In the
and
bomber.
He just had to go. He
It was a very
shaved.
hasty retreat.
Yeah,
right.
it's true.
Yeah, no time to shave. Get on the Crimson Bolide.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Yeah, I love that. That's and it quickly becomes essentially a Crimson Bolide as it that ship gets destroyed.
Well, so the other side of me saying I really like the designs of these bombers is that they seem awful fragile. These are not. I mean, they're like battle droids.
Right? Yeah.
Just go down quickly.
They don't. Yeah, especially like the part with all the bombs in them is basically covered by like canvas.
It's a nice design aesthetically, but there seems to be a real problem with how this was made. Like, yeah, what happened to shields? Like, this thing needs a shield.
Yeah.
Or at least armor, something like that.
Something.
Spikes. Anything.
They're just getting to medieval type things.
I also think it would have been. I also think dramatically it would have been cool to have them kind of almost like floating in and they're firing on. When it's heavily armored
like-
enough where it's withstanding all
Yeah,
the fire.
right.
like,
They're, like,
flags
rattling.
coming around.
Yeah,
and
totally.
kinda-
Like all the bombs rattling on the racks while they're like.
No,
Yeah.
it was just like a video game. It's like
And they blow up one, and that wipes out the entire fleet.
their
of them.
formation is terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
Well-
you need to rethink that strategy because that did not work.
I mean, I guess to be fair, they're normally flying bombing runs on a larger target. I'm assuming on like a base of some sort. So
Yeah.
like for them to be kind of focused just on one ship, although it's a huge ship, it's a dreadnought.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess if they concentrated their fire on one spot, it's one of those things. Like, there's this theme of actually, no, it's a long time ago, but we'll say that the
Long time.
technology and stuff is futuristic. They have faster than light drives. They have all of these things, but there's so many other things that they're just not. They have not put a lot of thought into. Like, wow, it's amazing you can build this ship that flies through space that generates its own gravity. Oh, it got hit by a match. It's done. Like, it's.
Hey, speaking of gravity and ships, one thing I'm kind of, I don't know if I'm disappointed, but one thing we've never seen them do since the original Star Wars is, you remember in the Falcon where Luke and Han climbed up their ladders and they went to different things, and apparently the gravity was different in those things because they weren't. We haven't seen that in any other. Like, I was kind of disappointed that the bomber in the bottom of the ship had to spin around to be in the right direction as opposed to them just, you know what I mean, being upside down compared to the rest of the ship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that that's because, even though that's because it was a mistake, it was not a mistake, but they went back and changed the design after they had filmed it. So like, but that still doesn't mean it's not cool. So yes, they should do more stuff like that. But I do like the design of this and having the person in the pod, in the little bubble. And
I like them in the bubble, but the bubble could be, they don't have to spin around or be hanging from the bottom. They can
I
just
had to
stick their
watch.
head up. Yeah.
I had to watch that bit a couple of times to figure out that it had turned around to look at the fact that the doors weren't open. I don't think that
Right.
was super clear in the heat, like, because we watched it,
Right.
minutely. I watched that a couple of times. It was like, oh, that's how that works. I don't think that was super clear. Nothing about where these people are in these ships and who's doing what is terribly clear at all. Like, it's sometimes it's like it's hard to tell. Like, is that a gunner? When I saw this originally, I thought, is there just one person flying each of these? I wasn't. That's what it seemed like, and I think that's. I guess in the next, when I'm not here, you'll see more of that sort of leaning. But I guess the other people got killed. But wait, this is a next minute? This is a next minute thing that I was just about to say.
Okay.
I have a few technical notes about the bomber ship.
you want to do them now, or you want to save them for the next minute?
What sort of tinfoil
I can save
was used?
Yeah. What's up to you? I had, you know why it's hard to tell what's going on and who's doing what and
why?
And because they're everywhere. That's what we learn. There's a classic rebel or resistance pilot screaming death, and it's he's in his X-wing. He screams, "They're everywhere!" before perishing in a ball of flame. That is resistance pilot J. Chris Tubbs. Tubbs.
Reversing the syllables of those words is like normal. So normally it would be Tubbs J. Chris.
That's
but they
true.
were like, no. Let's switch it up.
Well,
It's
they wanted
J. Chris, Tubbs.
They needed him to be Tubbs, right? Because he's not.
Who's flying the Magenta Backhoe.
Well, at first I thought, oh man, is this another William Hootkin situations where they just took the fat guy and said, hey, we're going to call you Tubbs.
Right.
But I don't think that was the case
They
because
just loved Miami Vice.
it's assistant director Jamie Christopher.
Yeah, he's the 180.
So I presumably he gave himself the name, or do you think he gave himself the name Tubbs, or did he just find out once he got the visual dictionary? He's like, they call me Tubbs.
Which was his nickname in middle school, and it made him cry.
Oh man.
Maybe the reason that these ships all got destroyed so quickly is because they were filled with useless Hollywood creative folk.
What? How did we they evacuated the? It's like. You fools, you captured their stunt doubles, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you think you blew up the resistance fleet, but it was just really the creative executives.
It was just a bunch of cameos from Suits.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know about when they film action scenes in movies is that they let the people just improvise what happens. And at the end, that's what's on screen. So all the people say what would happen, and they just failed miserably. And that's why. That was a long way to go nowhere.
I liked it.
I
have a note about Tubbs. Were you still talking about Tubbs? Did you have
well, I had a note about the actor, not about the character.
Oh, okay. Well, my note about the character is kind of like his Wikipedia article is very brief, except for some reason we know that he has at least two children. At least two children. So.
Well, that ties
now
in.
They
with,
don't have a father either.
Yeah.
That ties in with my note, which is that on his helmet. Assistant director Jamie Christopher had the names of his 3 children written in Arabesh on his helmet. And the children's
Buns
names are
and Thuddy.
Ted, Stella, and I don't know how you pronounce this name, Phi. I don't know if that's Phi or Fee or
probably.
Anyway, but so it's kind of disturbing that they only mentioned 2 children for the character, even though 3 children are written on the helmet. So maybe you only see 2 on the helmet in that shot, and so the other one isn't officially canon.
Right. That's
They
interesting.
couldn't figure out how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
They didn't know that was a name.
Or maybe they're like, we need one of the names to match the syllable pattern. So Fee Stella is one character. That's one child.
Ah, I got it. Oh, that makes sense.
They just thought it was his fraternity.
Right. Stella Phi.
I hope his children
Do or die.
appreciated it.
Yes. His. Now, are you talking about the actor's children, or are you talking about J. Chris Tubbs' children? Do you hope
Imaginary.
You hope
I
that
hope
they
they appreciated
appreciated
his sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a pointless attack on.
Right.
Do you think every Christmas, Poe Dameron got cards from the family of Tubbs of Tubbs saying thanks for killing our?
He's
our
the one
beloved.
who had to let them know that was his job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably.
We get some cool shots of space chaos when the ships are all fighting each other, and I think it's easy to sort of take the space battle stuff for granted. I feel like we don't see too many space battles in these
It's
Disney.
a good space battle.
It
other than the
is.
fact that it's complete washout and failure and makes no sense
Yeah.
strategically.
And it's cool in a way that we haven't seen. It's not just like, all right, it's not
Yeah.
just let's take the same thing and add more ships. It's like, all right, let's do a slightly different setup.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think of Lord of the Rings when the Battle of Helm's Deep, when you sort of get a sense of what the place is, and it's sort of built around what that, and you sort of see the tactics with that. I think it has a little of that. And I think at this point, I thought, hey, this movie's got some legs to it. This is a thing we haven't seen.
Those weren't legs; those were bomber chutes.
Yeah,
they were,
yeah.
Deployment tubes.
There's another thing. There's a shot of sort of all the bombs that are on the inside of the bomb funnel or whatever it is, and it's another example to me of a really beautiful shot that doesn't look anything like Star Wars. Like it's just one of those aesthetic things that, again, this movie. When the last time I watched it, I thought, yeah, this is just beautiful. There's all sorts of really interesting cinematography that again doesn't feel anything like Star Wars. It's just this. It's like it's too pretty. Like it's like, oh, that's you have to make that way less beautiful for this to feel normal for me.
But it is. Yeah, it's expanding. All these movies expand the language of Star Wars in new ways.
I'm full on a crusty person who's like, if it doesn't really remind me heavily of the first.
Right.
3 movies, and the first 2 really. Actually, the first one. If it doesn't remind me of A New Hope frequently, then I'm like, it's not very Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I admit that bias fully.
Totally.
Here's something that's pretty Star Wars. Sorry, Pete. Did you have some more about the?
No, I was going to agree with Josh.
At one point, one of the people on the comms says that there are 2 ships at 2:10. Which is just like in Star Wars, it says 2 marks at 2:10. So 2:10 is a popular time if you're a TIE fighter. That must be like right after their coffee break. They all come in at 2:10, right after they're done.
It's their thing. Like they're like, all right, everybody, hang on, just set your watches. It's almost there.
Right. Yeah. Why the rebellion keeps attacking at 2:00-ish, I don't know.
Well, that gives us a whole other scene with a time lock where they're like, see the slowly, the hands moving, and it's like 2:07. Come on, we got to get this done.
It's tea time at 3, so they want to have that done for biscuits.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. My last note is that Captain Kennedy says, recharge the main gun, or the auto guns, or whatever they're called, and auto cannons. That's it.
Auto cannons.
And I was like, shouldn't you just start recharging them as soon as why wait till to be? I guess people don't do things unless they're specifically told.
Oh yeah, they're a very pedantic group.
He's a very micromanager kind of guy.
They're not going to use that again. That was just using. They can't use it against the X-wings.
Right.
They can't use it against the ships that are attacking them, so they didn't recharge it. Then they're using the thing that they use to blow up the base, and they're turning it towards the big
and maybe
transport
it's like
ships.
a resource hog.
Right.
So like,
oh, I see. They didn't want to.
Recharging it uses up other resources that they then can't.
Right. Like
everyone's like the laundry machines all slowed.
Like intensified forward power.
Sude Bascus has to unplug his iPhone.
Right. Except all of those ships have the old original iPod plug.
Right.
Well, that's all I have for minute number 9. You guys got anything else?
Negative. Oh wow.
It's pretty much it because there's more stuff that we can continue into tomorrow.
Yeah.
Same scenes.
All right then. So, what do you say, you guys? Join us on social media. We're on Twitter at Star Wars Minute, and my handle is at ARobTwit. Pete, what's yours these days?
Pete the Retailer. Still, if you find
and Josh,
other ones,
I deleted all my accounts other than Instagram.
You're no longer on the Twitter bot.
No, it's destroying America.
You want to tell us your Instagram then?
J. Flanagan.
All right. And
I recognize that I kept that one, and it's the same company as the other one, but otherwise I'm just always alone. I have all these pithy thoughts now, and I guess I just put those in a box.
Forever alone. Well, that's why you got to start a podcast. You should totally do a podcast, Josh. You'd be great on it. Anyway, we'll talk about it off the air. So thanks, everyone, for listening to the podcast, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
I taught you to do this.